Well, first of all, thanks for coming. This is, for me, a quite unusual sort of concept, instigated by Gary and Lara and Joe and Dave to meet people that, you know, are interested in our work and what we do. And it's, for me, working beautifully because I'm getting some feedback, you know, and this is a rare thing to me.
Is it good?
It has been good. You know, I mean, you can say, well, it's crap if you want to, but I want to know that as well. You know? So, just to get to know people, that, you know, you make these things, they go to an art dealer or they disappear out the front door, and it's rare that you actually get to meet people that have got them in their houses or think about what you do or connect it to your work in any way. So I really, really appreciate the opportunity. Look, I've been living in a one-room flat with my 5-month-old granddaughter, or 15-month-old granddaughter for the last 48 hours, so I may be a bit fragmented in putting my thoughts together. So, initially, this group of paintings is related to a project that I've been working on for the last 15 or 20 years called the 1 Degree C project. And it has a rather environmentally precious kind of sound title because it involves the idea that, you know, as the ocean temperature goes up, sea level rises, and therefore, you know, the whole world will get inundated and we'll all drown. But really, there's much more to the project than this kind of obvious environmental connection. I am concerned about those things, and they interest me deeply. When I first went travelling through these groups of islands, I wasn't looking for evidence to substantiate the idea of climate change or sea level rise or any of those things. I just discovered those things by witnessing those things. You know, fish species changing where they existed, islands eroding, vegetable gardens in the middle of the Pacific Islands being inundated with salt water coming up through their substructure. All sorts of evidence was there about change happening as a result of a changing climate. So I got interested in looking at that side of time and change through my travels, but equally I'm interested in the cultural aspects of time and change, the way contact with the broader world has affected these sort of coastal communities. So these islands in New Guinea or in Sumatra or even in the Abrolhos, these are, you know, small traditional cultures which are becoming transitional cultures because of their contact with the broader world through exploration, exploitation, tourism, logging, fishing, all sorts of things. And I really just wanted to record as a topographical landscape painter what I saw without judgment, and to sort of freeze time, I suppose, these individual places in their current state of sort of worldly relationship with the broader world. There's no sense of didacticism or judgment or political comment, even though I am much more political than I'll be allowed to say here tonight. In my work, it's really just a record of these places in the specific time that I was there. The whole process began really at the Abrolhos in the 80s when I went there and saw fishing families. This was essentially a family-based place where people have been fishing for a number of generations, including the Richies and other friends. And they were increasingly being imposed upon by, you know, government officialdom, quotas, cooperatives, environmental groups, scientists. You know, these were just instinctive fishing families, and I could see that their world was, you know, changing dramatically. And this is a Western culture being affected by a Western culture. And I thought, if I extrapolate this out to the Indo-Pacific region, where you've got, you know, untouched first contact cultures encountering this contact, I thought that would be a kind of really interesting way to spend the next 20 years, and it has been, and a very pleasurable way as well. So that's essentially what I'm about. Again, I repeat, this is not a sort of didactic exercise, it's just a labour of love, recording places in transition as they relate to, you know, become part of a broader contemporary world. So I hope that's all made sense, okay? And thanks again for coming. If there's any kind of questions or any issues about particular works?
No.
Yeah.
No.
behind you, Deception Island, that is a long way from anywhere. So what put that on your radar for you to?
Well, we ran into it on the way back from Antarctica. Essentially, we went. I went to the Antarctic for the same reason I went to everywhere else. Initially, I just get these instinctive needs to go and see a place without any sense of, that I'm going there to explore, the environmental impact on the Antarctic, or I just want to go there and see some ice and want to see there's colours, and then I perhaps become interested in the issues that I've just spoken about whilst I'm there. Deception Island was really en route, on return, and it was just such a fascinating place in terms of this Norwegian whaling station that had just been left in a kind of time warp, and let deconstruct via climate and so on. All the old boats were falling apart, the old buildings were falling apart, and it was a crude, horrible place. The whole bay was filled up with blood. During the whaling season, it was just like this immensely, almost horrific, industrialised place during the whaling era, and then suddenly it became not profitable and they left. So you've got this kind of the bones of the whales, you've got the bones of the buildings, you've got this kind of this bleached outcome of what was, and it's just like a time capsule. And that's what I mean about time and change. It's not just always about environmental impacts; it's about cultural impacts. And I was very fascinated by the fact that bleached wood was the same as bleached whale bones, and little things like that sort of get me going. So all of the works here tonight. There's only 5 works here, but are all quite selected because they're quite special places to me. Cree Island up there is in West Papua, which is just the edge of the most biologically diverse marine region on the planet by a very, very long way. This is just becoming known as for bird of paradise tourism. They've got a new jetty. You can see the old one, they're used to be. So they're quite excited about this, but you just know that over time, this place is going to mutate from a traditional culture into a transitional culture. And some of the impacts are going to be fine, some of them are going to be horrific. And I'm not going to make a judgment either way on that. I'm just there to record that outcome. And you can see even the building materials. They've got traditional woven structures. They've got salvaged tin. They've got contemporary. Some of them will have it. Somewhere up the back there'll be a satellite dish and a mobile phone. This is what's happening. And I guess it's a romantic, underneath all the issues I'm talking about, it's an almost childlike romantic search for that point of contact that Captain Cook might have had when he first got to Tahiti. We would all love to have been there. It's a bit of a search for that, see if that still exists in the world now. And we've been lucky enough in some of our travels to come across that, to meet people that have never contacted Western people before. Even in the 2000s, which is a very, very rare experience. This is just a place I hired over in the Kimberleys. It's right at the end of a river, and it's just one of the most passively beautiful places. I wasn't saying anything environmental there, I was just luxuriating in the calm, timeless nature of that place. Wag is the most beautiful place on the planet. These floating cast islands made out of upthrust limestone that have been eroded over centuries. They're upthrust through volcanic activity. It's a marine park. The Indonesians, surprisingly, are doing a pretty good job working with Conservation International looking after this place because they realise the value of tourism is so cynical. And it is incredible. The diving, the fish species, are the best on the planet by a very long way. I think, I can't remember now what the figures were, it's like hundreds of times more species there than anywhere in the Caribbean or in the Pacific. It's just extraordinary. And when you dive there, it's just like nobody's ever been there before. It's just opening up now as a dive place. That, of course, is home over there, the Ross Islands, or as near home as I'm ever going to get, I think. And, with all these Sicilian and sort of Italian fishermen that bought all the leftover paint from Bunnings, didn't agree on a paint scheme, and rushed down and smacked up a pink wall and a yellow wall and fought over the, who owned that jetty, and so threw up a purple wall, and it's very Sicilian, If you go down through southern Italy, you'll see the same colours in terracotta buildings, So it's just an echo of that part of the world, and we've done Deception Island. So. Any other kind of questions before I have a red wine?